Polls have closed here in Abuja and across Nigeria. Votes are being counted in some polling units. But there's concern about the electoral body, INEC, not uploading some results to its portal, especially that of the presidential elections. Well, we're joined now by the Director General of the Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council, Akin Osuntokun. And of course, right here in the studio with us is that. All right, let's have Akin for now. He's the DG of the Obidati Presidential Campaign Council. Akin Osuntokun, good to have you on News Night tonight. First off, what are your impressions about today's outing? All right, while we're trying to reconnect with him, Sulai, of course, we've listened to guests, earlier, and it's a bit. I don't want to use the word shocking. When you hear from Dr. Sam Amadi and of course Okeke here in the studios saying that INEC actually failed, and I'm wondering if that is the verdict. What does that mean for the final outcome in terms of acceptability, in terms of fairness, and all of that?
Because I think, as I say, we have to say the way these Nigerians are not too excited. We're journalists.
No, they're not.
Yes, we're journalists, and we've been able to see comments and emotions of people who have gone out to vote. And now we're talking about no mean Nigerians who are enlightened, Nigerians who are educated, Nigerians who are not first-time voters, Nigerians who
understand the issues,
have always voted. And now they're drawing a comparison between what has happened in time past, specifically when Professor Atairu Jaga was in charge of INEC. And just when Nigerians thought that we're getting it right with the BVAS and a few others, you're getting to see inability to upload data.
For some, it's a bit more unforgivable, considering the fact that the same INEC chairman right now, he midwifed the 2019 election. All right, we have Akin Osuntokun, the DG of the Obidati Presidential Campaign Council. I asked you earlier, well, thank you very much, good to see you. I asked you earlier what your impressions are generally about today's electoral process, the voting process today. What are your assessments?
Well, I've always been skeptical about the ability of this INEC to do its job with credibility. It's good that you mentioned the precedents of 2019. You know that was a shambles. That election was nothing to be proud about. Now, of course, anybody who could have engaged in that kind of act, in kind of despicable, very low standard before, I would be stupid to think that the person has suddenly become a credible, instrument of delivering democracy in Nigeria. But there are one or two things that, look, science, is an equalizer. Whether you like it or not, it will give you a result that it is predetermined to do so. So when they came out with the electronic transmission device of BVAS, again, it seems as if, finally Nigeria has arrived. But even then, I had my own doubts that. And the thing I say is that, look, it's more or less a circumstantial evidence. I have no reason to believe that the INEC has a vested interest in the credibility of elections in Nigeria, free and fair. And they are more than confirmed my own suspicion, today. Suddenly developing cold feet, at upholding results that have been clearly delivered by Nigerian electorate. The presidential election and the down ballot candidates, both elections took the same arithmetic time. Now, they were able to upload the senatorial and House of Representative election to their server. Then they started playing with our intelligence. That after doing that, it became difficult. Or somehow something happened now with the server, and they are unable, to upload, the results of the presidential election, which is in the public domain already anyway. I mean, as I said, science is bigger than anybody. And so it is already in the, but look, the Nigerian public and electorate, they are always ahead of their leaders. This is what is being demonstrated today. Nigerians have made a verdict, right? Regardless of why everybody had reservations about the capacity of the Nigerian electorate to do the right thing. Now they have done it. You ask reports of people giving dollars and so on and so forth, took their money and voted their conscience. Where an inflection point.
Akin Osuntokun, quickly here, people are complaining, and you have your agents around the country specifically. Now, let's stretch it. Have you reached out to INEC on these complaints? Because we're looking at messages coming in from across the country on inability to upload data.
Well, you know, of course, we've reached out to them. Of course, we would have done that. No, but you don't take chances with somebody who has proven to you that, look, you need to watch your back, or if they said today something is black, it may actually be white. You know, so it's, of course, reached out to them. But, you know, this kind of suspicious behavior started a few days ago when the names of our down ballot candidates and the Senate and as House of Representative candidate got missing, right, in the ballot paper. And of course, when we got in touch with them, they accepted the mistake and apologized. And today, I was, you know, listening to the chairman of the INEC, you know, say, okay, it wasn't a mistake. They knew what happened, that when the appeal court gave a judgment, that was why the names were not instated. And then the Supreme Court, they didn't have time. Look, I was part of a presidency. Actually, I was a political advisor at the time. That the Supreme Court judgment gave a judgment, you know, a few days to the election that necessitated the alteration of the ballot paper. And that government, under President Obasanjo, within a few days, got all the ballots that were supposed to be used all over the country corrected. Now, here we are with INEC. Right? You knew that something had happened. The Supreme Court gave the judgment about 2 weeks ago. That was sufficient time to make the INEC itself, you know, do the right thing. No, they didn't. Now again, there are two options open to the INEC. One is preventive, and the other is deal with it up front, you know, up front and center. It should not have been left to us to report that mistake, whatever that lapse, to INEC. INEC, if it is acting in good conscience, should have told the Nigerian public right away that something is wrong with this ballot that is inadvertent, and that they will do something about. No, they didn't do that. They waited till we went there to make a complaint, and they started saying. And today I had the chairman of the INEC talking about, okay, if your logo or your name or what is missing on the ballot paper, they devise a supplementary process of producing one paper that you can do all sorts of things. Look, I'm an educated person. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. It was too laborious. What he was describing, I don't know whether it would have been only himself who understood it. Not to talk of the majority of the voters, that you are now putting a burden of your own error, you know, on them, right? Saying that, describing a very cumbersome, you know, process. So this is another instance of the suspicious behavior, you know, that we have seen this INEC. Of course, we know the kind of consequences, you know, that this king can upset. I was speaking to the political counsel of the British High Commission an hour ago. And the first thing he told me was that, look, he hopes that reporters will not resort to violent uprisings, because they knew what was going on. And he said they've spoken to INEC about it, and that the INEC people told them that something was wrong with their server or whatever it is, they will fix it. But he was worried, and that is instructive. He was worried. He told me clearly that, look, what is the potential of this kind of thing, you know, for there to be violent eruption? This was coming from him. So INEC should know the kind of what it is playing with. You know, you're playing with fire. And this time around, you know, the people who went to vote, right? Totally, you know, objectively, majority of them, you know, detached from whatever ethnicity, you know, whatever, went there to vote. and voted. It was the verdict was clear. Now, if we do something about that kind of thing, nobody's going there. I'll be powerless to ask them to do anything to restrain or whatever it is, because it will have been too blatant and glaring. And you see, as I said, Nigerian public are always ahead of their leaders. This has been demonstrated this time. Nigeria is an inflection point. And I've made the point clear before that this is a make or mar year for Nigeria. You can make Nigeria with this election, or you can mar it irretrievably. You can just, you can't have as many chances as God given this country to retrieve itself from failure, from doldrums, to be awakened, to be alive, than what Nigeria has given to Nigeria, what God has given to Nigeria. And the same thing is happening now, that through a peaceful conduct, a teachable moment in the history of Nigeria, the Nigerian masses that I used to tell people that don't take the intelligence of all this or elsewhere, your driver, don't take their intelligence for granted. They are smarter than you think, right? So don't take, and they have shown it today. They've expressed it in the election today. So this is what you are dealing with. Right. And it's something that they told you that it is decisive. It's a decisive statement.
All right.
That it's only the enemy of Nigeria can toy with.
Thank you so much. We'll have to leave it there. Mr. Akin Osuntokun, the DG of the Obidati Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you for joining us, and we do hope that things are brought quickly under control.